Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ultimate Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hunter Heidke, joined by my lovely co-host,
Lauren Rump.
And today we have another special guest joining us to talk about all things Ultimate Hike, the wonderful Susan Pregon. She's been with Ultimate Hike for many years. We're super excited to have her expertise and input on all things fundraising, her experience with Ultimate Hike, and her passion for the CureSearch mission. So, Susan, thank you for joining us today.
Sure, you're welcome.
I guess to start off, before we get into the questions, I would love for you to share a little bit about your experience, how you got involved with CureSearch, and kind of what led you to the Ultimate Hike program.
Originally, it was because, honestly, I was tired of coloring my hair for 20 years and found out that if I shaved it off, I could start fresh. So originally, that's how I ended up honoring Mary Rose. Mary Rose Harrington was 5 years old at that time, or 4 years old at the time. And I honored her and raised some money. And I thought, okay, did that. Her family was involved with CureSearch. That's a whole nother podcast. You'll need to get those folks on here. But it was the beginning of a very wonderful journey, getting to know the Harringtons and Terry Gannon and her family, and connecting to CureSearch. And that's been just over 10 years now.
I'm glad that you've been with us for that long. I think it speaks to the type of culture that we try and build when it comes to the Ultimate Hikes, is that people come back, and they come back for reasons, and good ones at that. So we're appreciative of all the support that you've given us, Susan. One of the things that we like to talk about, and one of the focuses of this episode, is the fundraising aspects of the Ultimate Hike program. That is sometimes a barrier of entry that people feel before there's sometimes some anxiety for people reaching those goals. But when it came to you getting first involved, could you share a little bit about how you went about the fundraising practice? Did you share some of those fears, and how did you kind of overcome them?
I think in the beginning, that's everybody's biggest fear. How am I going to come up with, the amount of money that I need to come up with so it doesn't get charged on my credit card, right? So I was right there with every other new person wondering how am I going to do this? First year, I think, was pulling apart all the resources that you had and just trying to use any and all of them. And once I started talking about it and being able to speak somewhat realistically and eloquently about what my ask is, the worst that could happen is they say no and you move on. So pretty early on, I just figured, okay, that's a no from them, but next person, I'm going to get them. So it became a little bit more of a challenge just once you get past your warm bodies, friends and family. So then I just got the mindset of, the more you talk about it, the more it'll happen. So then you step into, okay, I'm really comfortable talking about it. I'm talking about it to everyone, whether they want to hear it or not, but it might open another door. And utilizing the tools that are on the website was very helpful. Way back when, there were these little make your own business cards. We've graduated a little bit since then to QR codes. QR code goes with me everywhere, whether we're on the trail and somebody is stopping our group. Oh, you guys are hiking? What are you hiking for? CureSearch, tell you all about it. Here, want to give us a donation? QR code. There you go. Happens all the time.
That's awesome. And for those at home who can see the image that I'm about to show up, we have business cards for recruitment of the Shenandoah Hike. And just like Susan mentioned, there's a QR code on the back that links to the website. I've handed this out to some of our key volunteers, community leadership boards, and just people who are interested in my local area. So to Susan's point, we try and provide comprehensive resources to make sure that our volunteers and our hikers feel that they are supported and can reach their fundraising goals. We try and make sure that we have ambassadors and staff partners partnering with them every step of the way. But I think one of the main things that I think I would like to drive home about your point, Susan, is just like talking about it. I had an old boss one time where he talked about his wife every single day, and he came up and spoke to the whole staff one point and was like, the reason I talk about my wife every day is because I'm making a conscious decision to say and talk about the things that I care about. He thought that that was a powerful opportunity to keep his wife top of mind and make sure that she stays, on the forefront, so that people understand that her importance to him. And I think that that same logic can be applied to a lot of the things that we care about. Obviously, CureSearch has a very unique mission and has a lot of personal connections with our hikers and our staff and our volunteers. And I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling comfortable in sharing the things that you care about. And then getting to that point, obviously, we're all not professional fundraisers to start our experience. But that is exactly it. Experience is, just getting out there and saying the words. To your point, Susan, I think you said something along the lines of like fully being able to articulate why the things that you're doing is really helpful. And I think that we're going to have a future podcast episode where we talk about distilling your story so that it is more accessible to the people that you talk to. But I think that this is a good reminder that, just talking about it is really the first step.
I think too, it's, there's areas throughout the country that do specific endurance events. There's all kinds of endurance events out there. This one is not unlike any of the others. So once you say ours is better because, right, CureSearch is best, you want to join ours, you meet the best people, all of the things, then it just makes it, oh, CureSearch, what's that? Tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
So then I whip out, if not my QR code, I carry a piece of paper. I print off the letter with the tax ID, which stays in my car at every restaurant I go into, out to dinner, wherever I'm going. Ace Hardware, whatever store. Hey, do you want to give me a donation? I need it for raffle baskets, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a fundraiser. And that was my early on. You asked a couple of questions ago, how did I kind of get started? And that's what I did. That and a garage sale got me started. And then people started dropping off things for me to sell at my garage sales. I've had so many different types of fundraising things over the 10 years. I'm kind of chuckling over some of the earlier ones. They worked. I raised my money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still do a garage sale?
No, I don't.
My
My
mom,
subdivision doesn't like them.
my mom, her entire garage last year, and then we emptied it, and she
Oh,
raised
wow.
like I think $2,300 for CureSearch, but she collected
That's
like
great.
her and some of her team. They're retired. They had the time to go collect like big ticket donation items from their friends. It's a really cool way to leverage like people who maybe can't make a monetary donation, but we all have things around the house that, it might end up in the trash. It might end up in the garage for the garage sale you're never going to have. So like, let me have it. I will sell it. It's going to a good
Right.
cause, right? And so lots of people were excited to contribute to it. It was a massive garage sale. She raised lots of money and was so happy to empty her garage, and then immediately turned around and filled it up for the next year. And now her annual CureSearch garage sale is her garage, my garage, her teammates' garages.
Oh,
So it works, but I think this kind of some of the big things you touched on, like, let's backtrack just a little bit, and then I'll ask my next question. But when formulating your ask, do you ask different with your friends and family versus how you might ask a restaurant, versus like kind of how do you frame your ask for your audience? And was there like some trial and error in learning that?
well, lots of trial and error. I mean, I was new at this. I was not. My day job is not sales. It's not asking people every day for anything. Oh, it was awkward in the beginning, but I'm tenacious enough to just keep at it, and sometimes don't take no for an answer. I just might re-ask, hey, have I asked you about the, wait a little while and ask them again. The Whether I ask family and friends versus walking into a restaurant or any other store, yeah, I think with the store, restaurant, anybody that you don't have a personal relationship with, speaking about very kind of quickly, because you won't have their time, a whole lot of their time. A brief blurb about what CureSearch is and that you're raising money by building raffle baskets. That, and I have a tax ID for you. You have the ability to submit, you get to drop a few things, get them interested, and hopefully you hook, line, and sinker them.
Yeah. I think those first couple of, experiences that you have really set the tone for what's to come in the future. Of like, you have that first conversation with a restaurant, they ask for the tax ID. Oh, that's something I forgot. I'll bring it next time, which is why you, Susan, always have it in your car. This is good planning. You've had
Yeah.
conversations with these restaurants. You generally know how they will go because you've had so many of them, or you're generally more aware of the ways that they could participate, whether it's a single donation or a give back night, or handing out flyers to staff. You, by having these experiences, you not only get to explore what works and what is successful to you, but you also get to hone some of your practice as well.
And it's been a big learning curve over the years, just trying to figure out what's comfortable for me, what's fun for me. So I locked into some restaurant fundraisers. I had some great I had a neighbor who has a restaurant, and he used to let me host a whole bunch of fundraisers there, and I tagged that onto when a musician friend of mine was playing there because he had a good draw. So it was a double whammy. I have this one restaurant. This is my third year, and he made a comment. Okay, when are we going to get this on the books? It's going bigger and bigger every year. So we're in talks for summer already. It's going to come quickly. So we got to get that one on the calendar.
That's awesome. So you have to have we had a guest, Anna, on, and she was saying her biggest advice was to really dive into the mission, get connected, and have that buy-in. And I think that's kind of what I'm hearing you say too, right? There's endurance events everywhere, but you're choosing to lace up your boots for CureSearch to help end pediatric cancer research. We know the mission is so important. Now more than ever, we need private funding and private dollars to really fund research. And so having that buy-in and doing things that work is that how you've evolved from expanding past friends and family and finding those things that work for you, and really you have to put in a little bit of effort, right?
You do. And honestly, I mentioned the different restaurant things that I've done, but I have done so much of my fundraising on social media. Huge amounts. My Facebook page, people follow not only the training and my silly pictures as I post them, throughout the training season, but they follow and look for my fundraising things as well. And I don't know, I'm a little quirky, I'm a little goofy. I like to do the weird thing. So I would, this time of year, I haven't done it this year, but for the last 9 years leading up to St. Patrick's Day, I had somebody many years ago, for a number of years, he gave me 100 scratcher tickets to raffle off. Well, that gentleman ended up passing away due to cancer, and I wanted to keep that one going. So I was buying them. And so that's the other thing that I've done. My choice was to buy, I don't mind spending some money to make some money. So I would buy the scratchers tickets, and I could make $700 just on those. And I don't mind going to the little stores, Walgreens, Schnucks, CVS, any of those stores after the week after Christmas when everything's on 75% off, and buying some things that I can use in raffle baskets. So I've evolved to also begging for people, hey, did you get that Christmas gift you're not going to use? I'll take it off your hands for free, and it'll be put to good use in a raffle basket for pediatric cancer research. How about it? Gimme. And you would be surprised at how many people take me up on that.
Or gift cards you have laying around that you might not ever use.
I get some of those. I got an air hockey table that I ended up putting in a garage sale. It was used. They're like, we want to get rid of this. Do you want it? Yep, I'll take it for the garage sale.
That's awesome.
I mean, you would be surprised at some of the things over the years. But as I said, I've been in it long enough, and I got to a point where I didn't want to tap out my friends, family, and my social media, avenue. So I felt like I needed some gimmicks. So I would do things like, you know, the, you know, the luck of the draw kind of thing for St. Pat's, or I would make a post if there's a holiday coming up, you know, Valentine's Day is tomorrow. I would make up some sappy post and say, kids with cancer may not get to the point where they have a sweetheart down the road. Let's do something now. Give me a donation, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how many people scroll past those or actually read. I'm sure there were some people who, over the years who did. But if you like that sort of thing, and if you think outside the box a little bit, you can do whatever you want, really. But Facebook has been phenomenal in the majority of my fundraising, from, gosh, way back when for my scratchers tickets. I didn't know about the free wheel where you just put all the names in and push a button and it picks someone. I would make a Word doc and cut and paste and cut and paste and cut and paste and put their name on it 100 times because they donated $100. Cut, rip it up, put it in a bowl, and pick it out of there. So I've evolved over the last 10 years. That's for sure.
I'm glad that we can always learn new tricks. One of the things that we had in our ambassador call, our Ultimate Hiking Ambassador call a couple weeks ago was talking about the utilization of AI in fundraising and things like that. So you touched on the utilization of social media. I think that's always something that we try to impress upon our hikers, and not just doing it one time. To your point, Susan, people may be scrolling by, maybe they glance away from their phone right as they scroll, they miss your post. It's important to stick with some of your strategies and before you can finally truly tell whether or not they're successful. So making sure that you post regularly, like you're saying, about Valentine's Day or other holidays that are coming up is important to keep it top of mind. But also I really think it's important to the point that you said, which is, it's unique to the individual. The things that you find fun or are life-giving to you when it comes to fundraising may not be the same for Lauren or I, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't explore these fundraising opportunities. So we, as an organization, try and make sure that the base level of support is there. You'll always have somebody like me or Lauren, a coach, another hiker, ambassador. We have, website with resources. Shout out to Val for our Google sites that I keep doing every week. But it's really up to the individual hiker to see how those resources are utilized. And we encourage creativity because we understand that each individual is different and every market is different, and the things that are successful are going to come from things that you're passionate about.
Absolutely. And as you're just starting, I think back to my first year, and I was excited to be doing something that's so much bigger than me and my world, right? And it was scary. It was scary because not just the money, but I knew I was going to get the money. I really did. I hit it. I wasn't overly nervous about that, but cautious enough to, all right, get a game plan going. Mm-hmm. I don't want to not hit my goal. But then you got your whole training side of it. So you really focus on all of that. One of the things that I think we have gotten so lucky with is as a team, the St. Louis team is contributing and helping each other in their fundraisers. So if you are lucky enough that you have a team, I mean, we're just super, super fortunate in St. Louis. We might live 50 minutes away from each other, but we attend each other's fundraisers. We sit down once a year and we try to, put things on the calendar, try to support each other. And, okay, what do you need help with? I mean, I have a new event, fundraising event that I'm doing this year that I just lucked into. A cute little Winehouse 66 just opened up in the next town over. And my neighbor, it's her nephew who opened it. And we were just over there checking it out, having a glass of wine, and he was fairly, I don't know if he was open a month or so at that time. And he mentioned wanting to do a benefit. Yeah. Hello? What kind of benefit? and and now we're doing a benefit to, and it'll be for CureSearch. And by the way, it's May 3rd, Saturday in St. Louis. If you're going to be in the area, let me know.
St. Louis crew, be sure, be there or be square.
But it's just as simple as that. Just having a conversation and being willing to just throw it out there. Yeah, this will be a new one. This is different. It's a little more involved, but I've got the backing of my other St. Louis teen buddies who are already, jumping in and helping with different things. So, and if you don't have a team around you, just keep plugging away at it. You can build your own team too.
In fact, we
Yes.
encourage it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, for sure. What tools has CureSearch provided you, and like how do you get support from staff, like for new hikers who maybe feel like they don't have a team, or they're kind of lone wolfing it and they just really are committed to doing this to do something bigger than themselves, but maybe are a little nervous that they don't have the network? Like, do you find that you have superb staff support, and what resources do they give you that you've found are more helpful?
Fabulous staff with CureSearch for the last 10 years.
We're the best.
That's right. If you weren't, how many of us would keep coming back? There's a lot of repeat people over and over and over again. And even as I've hopped to a few different ultimate hikes in different cities, I'm meeting people who have been around many, many years. And that speaks to, the staff and the organization as a whole. What was your question? No, I'm kidding. I remember the resources. There's so many resources on the website, so get comfortable with that. Understand where everything is, and reach out if you don't understand what something is. And you will, if you don't have a local coach, if you're by yourself, you'll get connected to somebody, a virtual coach, who may have some fabulous fundraising ideas of their own. I keep remembering, okay, this is on fundraising, this podcast, and I keep wanting to go to everything else over the past 10 years because it's all lumped together. So steer me in if I go rogue. But the resources, if you're by yourself, just ask one of the CureSearch staff to hook you up with somebody who's been doing it for a while. Even if it's a virtual, even if it's a phone call, email, whatever. Hey, look at what happened on the alumni page just recently. I put out there that I do my Super Bowl squares. Numerous people asked how to, called me and how do you do it? And look how many squares people were doing it and raised money. So it's just simply reaching out to somebody. And you'll find help there.
Oh, back to like the power of the ask, right? You gotta ask for support. Sometimes we're always like an open door, and we've kind of evolved this year and really heard that like fundraising is, I think, getting easier, but also getting harder. It's an interesting time to be alive. New in 2025, we've just revamped our website. Our resources are all very easy to navigate. We've launched the Ultimate Hike podcast. We're trying to get that information to people the way that they want it, right? You don't always want to have to dig through files to try to find something. You want it at your fingertips really quick. You want to listen to a podcast while you're walking or on a training hike or on the treadmill or in your car. You want to hear about these ideas like, I never would have thought to do Super Bowl squares, or I never would have thought to ask my alma mater at my college. Hunter just helped me reach out to his alumni for Central Texas. Like, expanding on that network that you have and hearing ideas really every time, even here, I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. I want to make sure we have that resource available. And then also, like, we've always had the fabulous fundraising calls for each hike, which you've probably been a part of and asked to speak at and all of those things because you're an expert. But
Me asked to speak on one?
we haven't quite emphasized how great Susan is at fundraising, but she is part of our Everest Club. Say we were going to host our fabulous fundraising calls.
Yeah.
I think bi-monthly now is what we've come up with. So we're really listening to everybody and making sure you feel incredibly supported and have access to all of the information more frequently than just hike specific. Really, expanding those fundraising calls to anyone who's registered any time of year, multiple times throughout the year. So we really want everyone to know that what you have this amazing community of coaches, ambassadors, alumni, and staff behind you. You're definitely not out there alone, whether it's connecting to the mission, fundraising, anything.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Can I put a shameless plug in for the St. Louis fundraising team?
Of course.
Okay. So here's some ideas for people. Okay. So Terry does her pool party every year where she invites all the people on the street who grew up on the street who've moved away. They all come back. That's her big, almost one and done fundraiser every year. She calls it the Augusta Gang. It's hysterical, a lot of fun. Jane has this ability to make things out of nothing. She digs up plants in her yard and has a plant sale, which has now grown to other people dropping off their plants. So they're all digging up plants, and she makes a lot of money in that. I'm talking like thousands of dollars she'll make. And then of course her charity event where they repurpose old chairs and she sells them. That's a huge one. Barb did a trivia night I guess 2 years ago. That was so phenomenal. And I think she's going to resurrect a trivia night again. But her trivia night was so much fun where she says, here's your questions. Do it. And it was because you didn't have to like talk over everybody and everything. It was so much fun. And she did really well. And Steve with his one and done Oktoberfest event, where he sells raffle tickets for one thing, 100 tickets, and there's this $2,500 right there. So you can do it in one event if you can think about the one event that'll draw people in. I guess like people so much, I want to see a whole lot of people at a whole lot of places.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we like you, Susan.
That's awesome. So 10 years of fundraising for CureSearch, over $50,000 at this point. You're probably far past that now. But what are like, we've talked about so many positive things and so many great ideas, but what are some of the challenges you've faced? And especially in the peer-to-peer space, like you kind of have touched on having to have some buy-in, having to spend a little bit of money, having to invest in really in the mission, truthfully. But what other challenges maybe have you faced and overcome?
I don't know.
None. It's so easy. Anyone can do it. Lace up your boots now.
Right. No, nothing's coming to mind. I mean, I guess way back when, seriously, way back when there were, like, oh my gosh, isms, but there is absolutely nothing coming to mind right now. And I
think that's a good thing, honestly. The fact that we don't have anything I think that should assuage some of the fears of the people who are maybe nervous about the fundraising. If somebody who's been doing it for 10 years and has been as successful as they have can't even think about a time that like makes it challenging, I think that it also speaks to your mindset too, Susan, of like you understand, the proper steps that need to go into place to make a fundraising event successful, or start getting the word out there. So I think to the point that we've been trying to hammer home of like we want to be here to support you. We're willing to connect you with peer fundraisers to share ideas. We want you guys, new hikers, old hikers, everybody in between. We want people to feel like as long as they have the right mindset and we're doing it for the same mission, then like essentially anything is possible. And some fundraisers really do blow it out of the water if they have the proper mindset. So that's always something to focus on.
I think so. What How do you find that you have to pester people a lot, especially like your friends and family who maybe are like, "Ah, Susan's hiking again. I'm just gonna leave her on red and not, donate this year." How do you follow up with them? Like, how do you get? Did you have to learn to get over pestering people?
Maybe, but I didn't real. I don't know. If I feel like they have contributed in the past and have not said no, they're going to get an ask or two. It's
Yeah.
just it's how it's going to happen. I
Yep.
mean, when I was trying to fill my Super Bowl squares, I went back the last 2 years. Hey, you bought a ticket, Super Bowl square 2 years ago. Would you like to get in on one? Because you got to get those full. I mean, that was a little stressful, trying to fill those squares. I don't know why I was stressed because I filled it in 2 weeks and a week and a half before Super Bowl even happened. So I was fine. But there's always that what if, right? So I was just doing textathons. Hey, I noticed you haven't bought your Super Bowl, square yet. So I'm not. I will ask a time or two if
Yeah.
I know them. If
Yeah.
it's somebody who randomly bought on Facebook or was a friend of a friend and saw it, yeah, they may not get pestered as much. But I'll definitely reach out to everybody who has done anything the year before, for sure. Last year when I was trying to hit Mount Everest and I was like, what, 500 away. And oh, you're going to believe that everybody in the last 10 years got an email or a mailed letter. I mailed 114 snail mail letters for people who have donated in the last 10 years. And then anybody whose address I either couldn't read or didn't have got an email or a text of the same letter saying, "Come on, I want to hit Everest before I retire." Well,
Yeah.
so much from my retirement plan
I think
from
that's an interesting strategy of allowing, and that's one of the things that we try and talk about when it comes to the fundraising plans and strategies is allowing your friends and family to partner with you in a goal. You mentioned a little bit, goal setting earlier, and I think that that's a really important part of the fundraising process. Of how can you truly articulate where you want to be if you haven't laid out a path to get to a specific number. Sometimes that's just the minimum. Sometimes it's the Pacer Club. Sometimes it's Everest Club or Summit Club. So we always encourage people to be cognizant of the strategies that they're going to be utilizing, but also understanding that like you don't have to do the same strategies with everybody. The way that you interact with your friends and family is going to be different than the way you interact with the restaurant that you just drove to. But I also think that it's important to remember to draw it all back home. If you're talking to friends and family, ideally these are people that care about you and care about you as an
oh,
individual, and yeah, and missions that you find compelling. So in a lot of ways, it may feel like pestering if you double text, triple text your old college roommate, but also you're giving them an opportunity to partner with you and show them that they care about you and the things that you care about. And I think that the success that comes from those asks just far and away outweighs any sort of social anxiety that comes from them, because you'll feel the love in a very monetary sense of what your network thinks about you and the things that you care about.
I
agreed.
I remind people too. I try to say this on every fundraising call. If just for myself, because I work, I'm a mom, we have sports, we have, doctors and dogs and life, and I hike and have hobbies, and there's a lot of people in this house I have to manage. So if I tell you yes, I really genuinely mean it, but you really do have to catch me at a time when I can take 5 minutes to make the donation. Otherwise, I'm going to forget. You're going to have to remind me. And I want to be reminded. I think to Hunter's point, people really do want to support you. And so you have to kind of
Yeah.
follow up with them sometimes. But
I've never been, maybe in the beginning as a newbie, but I don't think, I think once I got a year or two under my belt, I was not afraid to, "Hey, did I talk to you about your donation to my fundraising?" page. Let me tell you more about it. Here's the link. That's all saved and ready to go. Just have your stuff ready at your fingertips.
And that's why we have, you on, Susan, is so that new hikers, if they are listening, don't have to go through the 2-year stage process of like being the most efficient. They can learn from, I won't say that they were mistakes necessarily, but learn from the wisdom that you bring with your experience so that they can, jump right in and start being successful right away.
Sure. I was shy about asking in the beginning. I think, as we're talking, I'm thinking about to my first year being so afraid of all of it, and just because it was new. And it is just, there's so many things, resources and people who can help you.
An ultimate hike family, community of
That's
great
right.
people.
There's so many people who can help, and you just gotta simply ask.
And it's challenging. I think back to my very first hike. I knew nobody. I didn't train, didn't get connected with anyone prior to hike weekend, and then I have social anxiety, so I had to really talk myself into walking into the building. But one of the quotes from that weekend, which I've just got to hike with the person who said this, or just got to support her in Jackson Hole. I wasn't hiking with her. I was working, but she came to hike Jackson Hole after being on a little bit of a hiatus, and it was like a full circle moment. But her quote that she shared that I think really touches on what the weekend and captures the weekend so well is make yourself useful, doing really hard things with really great people. And it is hard. You're hiking, like the hiking is hard. You have fundraising takes work, right? All of it is a little bit of a challenge, but you're doing this alongside some really great people who are really committed to the mission, ending childhood cancer, and supporting each other and building that community. And I think that's what makes it, that's the magic, right? It's what keeps you coming back year after year.
And after year and year and year and year.
And even when you try to, retire, we just reel you back in.
We just can't stay away from that beautiful, beautiful.
I wasn't going to leave totally. I just was redefining my role and,
Well, of course, when it comes to how we feel about our ultimate hikers, we're incredibly thankful for what they do and how they partner with our mission and the support that they bring to the pediatric cancer community. But I was curious before we get to the final couple of questions. You mentioned writing thank you letters to like 114 people. Is that strictly the way that you found to be most successful, or how do you recommend that hikers thank others for their donations? Because I do think that's an important piece to make sure that those who do support you feel appropriately thanked for their donations.
I like to reach out right as I realize it happens because, Lauren, like you were saying, we have life and life gets lifey sometimes, right? And if you don't take a stab at it now and do something now. So if they're on social media with me, they get a blast. Their page, my page, tagged, whatever. And the link. Always put the link, because then when someone might say, "Oh, what did so and so do?" Click on the link. Boom, you got another donation. But anyway, if it's somebody that all of a sudden just dropped a whole lot of money on a donation, that's a phone call. That's, the letters that I did was, here's the end of my 10 years, kind of thing. This is what I've done in 10 years, blah, blah, blah. That was that letter. I know team members of mine who send a handwritten letter for every little thing. I know other hikers and coaches and folks who are involved who send one at the end of the year. There's many different ways, but I think if you genuinely reach out, no matter how it is, as soon as you realize the donation came in, I think that's just the way to do it. And of course, you've got on the site itself, you can thank them through that, through the website, through Classy. You can thank them right then and there. And that's a given. I always do that. I'm talking about the extra little touch. I personally prefer that because, I don't know, it's been 10 years and there's plenty other places for people to be donating their money. So I like to think that little special touch might just keep them coming back.
Well, with your fundraising success, it seems like it has.
Seems to be working okay.
Before we wrap up, with all of your fundraising knowledge and great ideas and kind of guiding people to really overcome that fear, get excited about the ask, and really talking about it all the time, is there something we missed? And what is your like number one tip or suggestion or like word of advice you would give?
I don't think there's anything you missed because you guys are like superhuman beings. So good job. My number one tip is don't be afraid of no.
Yeah.
Just
Good
don't
one.
be afraid of no. And taking that one step further, if you don't ask, you won't hear whether it's a yes or a no. So you just have to ask.
I love
You
that.
miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yep.
Even if you feel like it's a half court heave that has a 0% chance of going in, or even it's a 0.1% chance of it going in, it might. You never know until you take the
Yeah,
shot. So
absolutely.
I think Susan's absolutely right about, just got to get out there and make the ask.
Yep.
We remind ourselves that as professional fundraisers all the time. Like, it's okay to hear no. You're going to hear no a lot, but you got to keep asking because that one yes is going to reinvigorate you and get you excited to go back out there again. So it applies at any level of fundraising. Right?
Person that comes to my fundraisers at my restaurants, and he tells me each time, "You cost me money," but he's always right there every year at that restaurant, buying raffle tickets, eating the food. Camilla's restaurant, get a plug in there, and and then this guy Roy every year, "You cost me money, Susan."
That's awesome.
Okay, see you next year.
I'm glad to be of service in that regard.
Had a good meal.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing, your specific knowledge, Susan. The whole point of the Ultimate Podcast was to invite people like you to share their experiences in a collaborative way with potential new and old hikers, just sharing the wisdom that we have in a way that is more palatable than a Word document. So we're super appreciative of you taking the time, but we do have one final question. I'm actually going to subvert the person who asks. I'm going to let you ask it this time, Lauren.
What is your favorite ultimate hike memory?
Okay, last year,
That's when I was here. Central
you
Texas.
weren't at this hike that I'm
Was
about
it
to
when
talk
me and Hunter and Chase and Krista did our super spin
Yeah,
around?
when we spun around.
That was quite impressive. I will tell you that. But so last year, leading up to the hike that I kept thinking was going to be my last hike because I thought I was retiring. And my daughter had the opportunity to do the ultimate hike. Her job had changed compared to the 4 years before. And then prior to that, she was in college and everything, and it just wouldn't work. And she trained with us and she did the hike, and it was super, super special to me to be able to share that with her. And then it got better because not only did my daughter Colleen go, but when I said I got started with this because of Mary Rose Harrington, well, little Miss Mary Rose, who's now cancer free at the age of 15, was also on that hike. So, being a sentimental person that I am, I started with the whole, Mary Rose. By the way, my name is Susan Mary Rose, and my daughter is Colleen Mary Rose. So there's a lot of symbolization going on. So it started 10 years ago with Mary Rose, and my final ultimate hike, big ultimate hike, was with Colleen, Mary Rose, and Mary Rose. So it was over the top, emotional and special, and nothing beats that. That was just super.
That's what a way to ring in 10 years. Like,
I know. And I'm like really into, like, I try to listen to symbols, and that was huge. that was just,
That's
it was
awesome.
huge.
And it
That's a
goes to
good
show that you still may have your best ultimate hike moments may still be yet to come. If it was just the most recent hike where you're able to have an experience like that, then I'm sure that experience would be similar for any hiker who joins. But especially for a 10-year anniversary to have something like that's really powerful.
Oh, it was huge. It was huge.
Awesome. Well, again, Susan, thank you so much. We can tell that you're obviously passionate about our organization and our mission, and we couldn't do the things that we do without individuals like yourself. So let it never be known that you haven't been thanked by us, because we truly think the world of you and the rest of our wonderful volunteers. But now the final piece of the Ultimate Hike podcast is all of us. Is we what is how do you describe it, Lauren? How would you describe it to Susan?
I think in true Ultimate Hike silly fashion, we like to wrap up our calls on the count with a countdown and an ode to our fabulous host Hunter, and say "K, love you, bye" at the same time.
Because I don't recall, I said this to Philly Frank, during the Shenandoah hike last year. He had called Chris on the phone, and I had never met him before, but he knew that I was the new staff person. And as Chris and him were about to hang up on the phone, I was just like, "Okay, love you, bye." And then like 5 minutes later, he drives up and he was like, "Did you say that you love me at the end of that phone call?" I was like, "Yeah, I said, okay, love you, bye." And he goes, "Okay." So, so we just started doing it.
That's funny.
So on the count of three, we're all going to say "K, love you, bye," and then that will be the end of the episode 5 of the Ultimate Podcast. Are you ready, Susan? You know what?
I am.
I'll let you count us down.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
K,
K,
love you,
love you,
bye.
bye.